Previously, on A Son's Revenge, Eli and Walter attempt to break into the Vault of Secrets, but fail. After tricking his mentor Natalia, Eli gains access to the plans of the school when he is attacked by Diego Defoe. Escaping with their lives, Eli and Walter gain the aid of Scarlett and make their plans to break into the vault, but are caught red-handed by Professor Jones and General Arnira.
The chill nipped at him, trying to dig its way through the threads of wool that wrapped around him. Shifting, pain like striking snakes shot out from his side. Twisting back sent the tendrils of pain flaring through his chest. Inhaling, stretched out the fractured rib, sending daggers of ice-cold pain through him. Breathing softly, the daggers withdrew, slowly fading till the pain throbbed numbly. Striped light streaked down from the barred window placed high in the stone wall. 3 stone walls rose above him, arching into a curved ceiling. At his feet, thick iron bars covered the exit. Rolling his head to the side, Eli caught the stooped form of Professor Jones crossing over the threshold.
I suppose you thought that was terribly clever to go gassing guards and breaking into the Vault of Secrets.
Did they take the key?
No, I have it and I intend to keep it.
Is there a chance you'll give it back?
Maybe, but until you can prove that you aren't going to do anything rash with it, I will be keeping it.
Frustration burned in his chest, fanning the flames of pain emanating from his ribs.
Now, would you like to explain why you disregarded our agreement not to look into this?
What did you expect me to do? Wait around for months for you to tell me nothing?
It was a single week. Then again, you have the rashness of your father and the stubbornness of your mother. So a week to me is a year and a half to you.
What were you doing anyways, besides ignoring me?
Coming up with a plan. Like I said, digging into this is extremely dangerous and I needed time. Time you impatiently wasted stirring up dust that's been settled for the last decade.
At least I got something done.
What exactly did you get done, besides putting a target on your back?
I figured out what happened to the relic, what the key is, and where to start looking for my parents' killer.
You mean the relic that was separated into 4 parts, one of which is the key?
Of course you knew.
I worked very closely with your parents researching the relic. I know more about what you're doing than you give me credit for.
Then why didn't you help me?
Because I need to look into some old notes of mine. I also needed to check in with some old contacts.
About what?
Movements of old enemies and rivals who could pose a threat to our research. But that will have to wait for now, thanks to you. Right now we need to deal with your trial.
Trial?
Yes. An investigation has been launched looking into yours, Mr. Finley's, and Mr. Foe's activities. And I would have to say you all left quite the bread trail to follow. So I would take time to rest. You'll need all the strength you can get in the coming days.
Where are Walter and Scarlett?
Mr. Finley is receiving a beating from his sister just down the hall.
Never think, you boozy dog, you give your sister more hell to clean up than you give your mother!
And Mr. Foe is pacing the length of her cell.
She's in jail? I thought her father would have bailed her out by now.
Lord Defoe grants no such privilege to his children. They get into trouble, they must face the consequences. You'll be happy to know that Diego has also joined you in prison. All in all, I'd say you've made quite a mess of things.
Have they gone after Natalia?
Your tutor? No, I would... You involved her in this, didn't you?
Not intentionally. She just helped me get the structural plans for the college, though she didn't know what I was going to use them for.
Blessed wings, it just gets worse. At this rate, the whole school will be involved. I'll have to deal with this quickly. In the meantime, rest. I'll be back as soon as I have any information for you.
Stepping out into the hall, the professor halted.
Also, I would warn you against bringing up the relic or your parents' death. It won't do you any good.
Shuffling his feet, the professor plodded away down the hall. The sun rose high into the sky before sliding back down to the horizon as day after day rolled by. The professor visited 3 more times, only bearing news of how dire his situation looked. All of his notes and writings concerning his study project, or more accurately his parents' case, had been confiscated. In a strange way, it was freeing, like a heavy stone had been removed from his shoulders. The pain in his side had eased, but still persisted numbly. Days turned into weeks until a month's time had passed.
Get up. It's time to face the hounds.
Bitter cold steel bit into his wrist as he was led out into the dim halls. The halls of the jail were clean-cut stone that ran in a single line down the length of the military hall. Up ahead, the dim light flashed off the raven hair of Scarlett Defoe with her chin held high as she was led forth from her cell. Determination was cut in deep lines across her face.
Scarlett!
Like a hawk spotting its prey, her dark hazel eyes latched onto him.
You look worse than I expected.
I've been healing a broken rib and sitting in a damn cell for the past month, so I have my reasons.
That's fair. Luckily, we'll have the chance to clean up before we face the council.
We're facing the entire council?
We broke into a vault of national security after incapacitating 2 guards while using an alleged piece of the missing star relic. So yes, we are facing the whole council.
When you put it that way, it makes it sound worse than it is.
That's because it is.
Have you seen Walter?
No, I haven't seen anyone.
They marched on in silence. Climbing the winding staircase, the open expanses of the defense building stretched out before them. Large rectangular pillars lined the outer wall, holding the building high. Light flooded in from high places in the room, shining off thousands of grains of white sand. Marching their way down the length of the building, they were led out into the bright morning sun, which illuminated the winding path before them. The bright sun glistened off the gilded roofs of the plaza buildings. Soft blue frost covered the pristine grass of the plaza, shaded by the large shadow of the Explorers Guild Hall. The octagonal lobby of the guild hall shone dimly after the brightness of the morning sun. Guiding them along, the guards marched down the hallway, making their way down till the copper and spruce door of Professor Jones's office came into view.
Come in. It's good to see you both in reasonable health. Leave us.
The ticking of the clock mounted on the wall and the fluttering of bugs' wings was broken as the door opened once more, revealing the muscular body of Walter.
There we are. I was wondering what was taking you so long.
4 tense, muscled guards marched Walter through the door. Sweat trickled down their furrowed brows.
Thank you for bringing him.
It wasn't a pleasant experience.
I hope you were reasonable, Mr. Finley.
I was just messing around.
I'm sure you were. You may leave us, Sergeant.
Their hands clenched on the hilts of their knives. The 4 men filed back into the hall, eyeing Walter warily as they went.
What did you do to them?
I may have snapped a bar in the cell.
How'd you manage that?
I was bored and it was rusty, so I picked at it until I could break it.
Impressive.
So why did you bring us here? Did you learn something new?
I did. How much trouble you're in. The investigation has closed, and you will be brought before the council this afternoon.
What are the charges?
Breaking and entering, misuse of government documents, and collaboration with terrorists.
Collaboration with terrorists?
Yes. Some of the counselors believe you worked in collaboration with the Black Sands.
Who are the Black Sands?
A group of terrorists who aren't happy with the state of the nation and want power.
They're also a cult who worship the relic and are believed to be the remnants of Amarian's legacy as a murderous tyrant.
So because we have the key and tried to steal the Cotton Journal, they think we work with them?
Unfortunately, yes. Which is why we must be very careful at your hearing this afternoon. We need a plan, and a good one. You 3 have gotten yourselves wrapped up nicely with some of the biggest challenges that face the nation and our legacy.
Can't we just tell them the truth? That we were investigating my parents' death?
No, you can't mention that.
Why not?
Mentioning your parents will do you no good. Many of our current counselors had grievances with your parents and didn't approve of their work. Bringing it up would only add salt to very tender wounds.
His parents seem to be very connected to a lot of our current counselors.
They were friends with many of them. His parents even helped many of them get the offices they now hold.
If they were all such good friends, why would it be wrong to bring it up?
Because right after your parents got into office, they uncovered most of the mysteries surrounding the relic and the horrors that were to come in the coming years, and the counselors didn't want to hear it. Started ignoring or downright attacking your parents, calling them crazy. But after they died, the things they predicted started to come true.
Like what?
Harvest started to fail, the weather got worse, terrorists started attacking government facilities.
Why would that be connected to the relic?
The relic is what's been keeping the nation in balance for centuries, only causing damage when in the hands of a madman. We suspect that after Joseph Cotton separated the relic The world was fractured and has been dying because of it.
Why would it be dying?
The relic was a heavenly gift, which we know very little about. We barely know the extent of its power, but we do know that it's tied to the Earth, and since its fracture, the Earth hasn't been whole. In a way, that relic is the nation's legacy.
Clarity, like a cool ocean breeze, swarmed Eli. This was the answer to the riddles. The relic was the nation's legacy, and it was his parents' work. He needed to finish what they started
And undo what has been done.
You remember what my parents' goal with the relic was?
I'm not sure, but they felt it was of utmost importance, and it, whatever it was, needed to be done. But right now, none of that matters. What does matter is who knew of or was involved in your plans.
It was just us. And Natalia, like I told you before.
Scumface almost knew, but we got away before he learned anything.
Who is Scumface?
Diego. He tried to kill Walter.
That's why he's being tried as well. That is something we should be prepared for. Also remember to use that as evidence if he tries to twist this to his advantage. Now, was there anyone else? Did Miss Finley know?
No,
Good. That limits the damage.
How did Astra take the news of what happened?
not well. She was more upset than usual.
I think I know why.
The day glowed dim in his mind. His heart ached at how she might feel. The unanswered questions plaguing him, gnawing at his heart, picking it apart. He had yet to understand how she had found a place in his heart in such a short time. They felt entwined. Shaking his head, he brushed the thoughts aside.
So, what do we need to do?
Come up with a story that will lessen your punishment and avoid any unwanted attention.
Do you really think these two can do that?
With our help, I hope so.
Light shifted and the shadows grew as the professor laid out their plan in excruciating details. He had 2 rules. Don't mention his parents' murder and don't make things worse, which Eli had no doubt would happen with or without his help.
It is time. We must prepare ourselves. Enter.
Filing into the room, the guards surrounded them and marched them out in silence. Students lined the halls, muttering behind raised hands and shuffling their nervous feet. Gravel crunched under each step as they marched down the path and up the stairs leading to the Hall of Denali. Stationed high atop the dome, the majestic eagle cast its shadow down upon them. All around, the eyes of judgment fell upon them. A breeze of unrest blew off from the sea, swelling among the onlookers. Winding their way through the south side of the hall, Eli found themselves coming before a great room where statues of the ancients stood hidden in alcoves along the length of the room. Stationed at the far end, guards stood at attention on either side of magnificent doors decorated with a hammer and scroll etched into its surface. The great eagle sat perched over the entrance, flanked by black banners emblazoned with the golden crest of Toulon. A flare of black and white blotted out the corner of his vision. Off in a corner stood none other than Natalia Tomiko, arrayed in orderly attire, contrasting with her usual messy style. Hidden in the dark shadows of the nook, Astrid's flaming red hair stuck out like a beacon in the night. The fiery red tinge of her hair had faded, and her once bright, shining skin showed pale in the afternoon light. Though the sharpness of her blue eyes had not diminished, Eli parted his lips to call her name, but a muscular hand gripped his shoulder.
I wouldn't.
I have to at least try.
Your funeral.
Guard, may I go speak with her?
For a moment.
Clicking heels broke the silence as he paced his way across the room to her. The glass blue eyes found him in a blink. Dark, withering anger streaked out of them, stabbing into his heart. Clenching, biting pain pulsed out from his rib. Her eyes never wavered, never lost their frustration, their anger.
Ashot,
You manipulative piece of dung! Astrid!
Natalia twisted Astrid's arm away, placing herself between them.
No, it's fine. I deserved that.
What do you want?
I just came to explain myself.
Why should I trust anything you say?
Because you'll know it's true.
Frustration and anger churned in her eyes like a flashing storm, striking out in anger. At its center, the light of reason broke through with golden beams.
All right then, explain yourself.
I know words aren't enough, but that's all I have right now. About that afternoon, I did want to meet you, but I couldn't. I was preoccupied and lost track of time. I'm sorry for involving Walter in all of this, and I only did it because I just want to get justice for my parents.
I understand why you want to do this, but that doesn't give you a reason to manipulate others into following you. My brother doesn't need this. I don't need this, and our lives are hard enough as it is, because unlike you, who are safe in your parents' wealth, my brother and I have to fight for everything we have. We don't need you making it worse. Astrid, stop, before you say something you'll regret.
Wrenching her hand free, Astrid stomped away into the shadows of the alcove.
Astrid.
Eli, don't. I think it best just to leave her be.
Daggers tore through his flesh as her anger stabbed his heart. She was right. He shouldn't have dragged Walter into this, no matter how easily he agreed to help.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring you.
Why didn't you tell me? Why did you hide your intentions?
Because I didn't know if I could trust you. I only just met you in a...
I understand if you didn't trust anyone, but Astrid is right. You shouldn't involve others in your own revenge, especially if they do it unknowingly.
Nat, I'm sorry.
It's Natalia, and if you survive this, I would prefer to either be left out of this or help knowingly.
Twisting in a flurry of feathers, Natalia sauntered away to the shadows of the far wall. They were right. Eli had manipulated everyone he met for his own goals, even if it was for a just reason.
Eli, it is time.
2 guards flanked him as the door swung open, revealing the semicircle room of the council chambers. 6 chairs spaced evenly behind an oak table, inlaid with copper, took up the back wall. Tiers of benches stretched along the length of the room. Quartz dripped from the ceiling, running down sandstone walls and pooling in the center of the floor around a raised platform, walled in on 3 sides and facing the council. All the councilors were present. General O'Neill with her dagger-like stare, Liam Limworth in all his oily appearance, Leosha Zateva, her soft smile greeting them as they were led deeper into the chamber, Moira Hindaza with her upturned nose and utter boredom scowling across her face, Gideon Havera, and at their center, the Lord Professor Defoe. Black rolled off his shoulders in intricately woven strands of thread, laced with gold. Gilded chains lay clasped together by a 4-pointed star holding the cape of the Chancellor around his shoulders.
Bring forth Eli McCain.
Shoulders arched and head held high, he climbed the steps of the platform to meet the terror of the lion's den with pride.
Are you Eli McCain, son of Jason and Amy McCain? I am. You stand before the council charged with attempted theft of blessed property, misuse of government documents, and collaborations with terrorists. What say you? Of the first 2, I am guilty, but I deny the latter. What do you say against that charge? I never consorted, collaborated, or communicated with any enemies of the blessed land. Then how did you come into possession of the key of truth? And why did you intend to steal the most guarded possession of our great chief, Joseph Cotton? I wished to acquire the journal of my own accord, and the key was a gift, though I was unaware of its true nature for some time. It was only after learning its nature that I wished to uncover its secrets, which I believe are held in the Cotton Journal.
So you took it upon yourself to uncover the truth, which we have tried to uncover for millennia?
I have.
Did you not find that any material relating to the relic was restricted?
Very early on, Counselor.
If it was so obviously restricted, why did you pursue it? Did you not question that it might have been restricted for a reason?
I did.
So then why did you keep looking?
Because it was my parents' dying wish.
Your parents' dying wish?
Yes.
Didn't your parents die 10 years ago?
They did. They died protecting the key and the knowledge they had obtained. When you say died protecting the knowledge they had obtained, what do you mean by this? If my memory serves me correctly, they died in an excavating disaster, did they not?
The nervous eyes of the professor locked with Eli. Realization dawned on his face as he guessed what Eli's next words would be. Shaking his head in small, unnoticeable movements, Jones grasped his cane, ready to rise and stop Eli from saying anything.
It was no disaster or accident that killed them. They were murdered for researching the lost relic of Denali.
Murdered?
Not this nonsense
What I believe
again.
Mr. McCain is trying to say.
Order! Order!
Stone flew through the air, raining down all around them as dust and ash erupted into the room. The shock wave ripped Eli off his feet and sent him toppling to the floor. In a blurred haze, dark shapes charged into the room as the world went dark. Choking on smoke, Eli rolled, shaking to his hands and knees. Sharp petals dug into his hands. Smoke billowed from an enormous crack slashed into the wall. Splintered wood lay sprayed about the slick floors. Armed guards swarmed around the counselors like a swarm of angry bees rushing them out a rear door. Blood seeped from black-clad bodies littered around the room. Scrambling to his feet, Eli stumbled his way to the crack. The twisting smoke cleared, revealing the horror before him. Columns of black, churning smoke rose up from all over the university. The Eagles Guard rushed like a pack of wild wolves, pushing back terrified students. Flying from the hole, he raced from body to body, rolling back stones only to find nothing. Cracked, splintered wood of the professor's cane lay crushed under his foot. His throat tightened. Tears stung his eyes as he grasped the two broken pieces.
Eli!
Professor!
Grasping frailly to the banister of the audience bench, the professor stood clutching his arm. Blood trickled down from a large gash in his forehead. Tearing a piece from his shirt, Eli wrapped the rag over the cut, stemming the flow of blood.
Eli, listen to me. You need to go and retrieve the key. It cannot fall into their hands.
Whose hands? What's going on here?
It's the Sands. They've come for the key.
Where is it? Where are Ashot and the others?
I don't know where they are, but you must get the key.
Where do I go?
3rd level, in Defoe's office. Now hurry.
Rushing out of the ash-filled room, Eli found the large expanse of the grand hall laid out before him. Taking the first stairs he saw, he flew up the flights of steps. Reaching the 3rd floor, he raced down the winding hall. Windows lined the outer side of the hall, overlooking the harbor. Bright orange and yellow flames licked the furled sails of the stored ships. The sky had become dark with smoke. Charging on, he rounded the corner, coming face to face with an unlatched door. Pushing it silently open, he slipped into the room. Books lay scattered on the floor. Rifling through the drawers and cabinets was a man dressed all in black.
I don't think you're supposed to be here.
Dark, hazel eyes snapped up to greet him. A black mask obscured the rest of his face. In one fluid motion, Eli came face to face with a long, silver-barreled gun, a single stripe of gold running down its length. Fear squeezed his heart. He'd seen that gun before, covered in blood, in a cave held over the lifeless forms of his parents. It was him, the man who killed his parents. Sparks illuminated the room as the hammer fell. Time slowed as the bullet raced from the gun. He saw everything. The ripples as the bullet crossed the void. The fire that flashed out from the barrel. His legs gave out, dropping him to his knee as the bullet whizzed past, lodging into the doorpost.
You'll pay for what you did.
Diving across the desk, Eli drove his shoulder into the man's chest, throwing him back against the wall, knocking the gun loose from his hand. Clutching up the fabric of the man's shirt, Eli emptied out all his pain, grief, hatred as he rained down strike after strike into the man's face. Bone broke from bone as the man's nose was knocked out of place. Muscles teared in excruciating pain as Eli's arm twisted back, exposing his chest to the man's knee. Tears blurred his vision as agonizing pains sent him buckling over. Eli watched helplessly as the man raised his foot to strike. Helpless he endured, kick after kick. He couldn't think. He couldn't fight. Pain like 1,000 knives drove into his chest, leaving him helpless on the floor. Withering in agony, Eli watched as the light flickered off the gun. Pulling the hammer back, he aimed it at Eli's head. Ironic that he would die like his parents, alone and afraid. Clenching his eyes closed, Eli waited to embrace the cold clutch of death. Slicing, burning agony spread across his face as the bullet ripped across his cheek. His eyes flashed open as he was thrown back. Ramming into the man, Scarlett sent him crashing into a shelf, breaking it. Lunging across the room, Scarlett wrapped her legs around his neck, tackling him and sending him in a heap to the floor. Swinging his leg around her chest, he leveraged her off, sending her sliding across the floor. Placing her legs firmly on the ground, Scarlett flipped herself up, falling perfectly into a defensive stance. Fists raised ready to strike. Groggily, the man shook himself, raising his own fists in defense. Swinging wide, Scarlett caught his floppy punch and, using his momentum, sent him flying over the desk, crashing down in a dull thud to the floor. Sweat streamed down her face. Her blood-covered fist shook violently as her legs gave out.
You all right?
No.
His vision blurred, all the colors of the room melding them together. The cream ceiling, mixed with the browns of the wood and the yellows of the sun, turned into an incoherent blob as Eli fell out of consciousness. Arched high above him, the white walls came into focus. Rushing footsteps, agonized screams, and the hurried cries for physicians and nurses berated his mind as a whirlwind of black, red, and white raced all around him in the chaos of the infirmary.
Eli! Oh my goodness, you're all right.
Astrid?
Craning his neck, he found his red-haired friend with ash and blood smeared across her gentle face and white coat rushing through the crowd. Falling to the floor next to him, she swept his hand into hers.
I'm so glad you're all right. I lost track of you in the courtroom.
Astrid, I'm sorry for...
Hey, it's fine. We don't need to talk about it right now.
You have every right.
Eli, please, just let it be for now.
Closing his eyes, Eli soaked up every drop of warmth he felt by her touch.
What happened?
We were attacked.
By the Black Sams?
Yes, they bombed the train station, bank, courtroom, military barracks, even the docks.
Is Sebastian okay?
I don't know. I don't really know who's okay or who's even still alive.
Is Walter okay?
Besides a few scratches and maybe 1 or 2 bullet holes, I'm alright.
Shifting his head, Eli caught the terrifying sight of a bloody, hulking Walter.
You've been shot?
It was mostly grazing shots.
He took a few for me as we evacuated the courtroom.
I also took a few of those rascals with me.
Have you seen Professor Jones? He was in the courtroom. He had a nasty cut across his forehead.
No need to worry. I survived.
Clutching a new cane, the professor hobbled his way to Eli's side.
Professor, I didn't get the key. I'm sorry.
No need to worry. Miss Defoe has secured the key. She also informed me that you ran into one of the sands.
We did. And Professor, it was my parents' murderer.
The already pale face of the professor was drained of the last drops of color.
How do you know?
He had the gun that killed them.
You saw the gun in your vision?
I didn't realize I had till today, but when I saw it, I just knew.
Then their actions have become clear. They did intend to steal the key. The question is, how did they learn about it so fast?
Professor Jones?
A long shadow flowed over Eli as Scarlett joined them. Red bandages covered her fist.
Ah, Miss Defoe. How are you holding up?
Exhausted, but all right. We've locked down the last few bomb sites, and we're almost done securing the city.
Good, good. Is there a reason you have come to us?
Yes, the Lord Professor wishes to see you and Eli as soon as possible.
Eli is in no position to move right now.
I agree with Miss Finley. Inform the Lord Professor that we will go see him as soon as possible.
Very well.
She disappeared into the shifting crowd of patients and nurses.
Walt, stay here with him. I need to go grab some supplies.
Rising, Astrid slipped her way through the crowd.
I need to sit. Take care, Eli.
The professor left, leaving the two men alone.
Walt, I just wanted to apologize.
For what?
Getting you involved in all of this.
I don't sweat it.
Ash covered the city as the illumination of yellow flames went out. Orange rays of sunlight shifted to blue rays of moonlight, returning to the orange of the sun before Eli's muscles would hold him. The last leaves of autumn had fallen along with all hopes of freedom. No word had reached him of the council's decision, and it wouldn't for some time. The scars of the attack dug deep, leaving the city in a state of stunned silence. The singing birds had fled, taking their beauty and peace with them.
Come in.
Warmth embraced him, frightening the chill away.
I didn't think you'd come.
Yeah, neither did I.
Pulling his eyes away from the skyline, he found Astrid with her arms loosely crossed. Light bounced off her pale skin, accentuating the dark circles that shaded her eyes. Red strands of hair were pulled back in rushed and frazzled braids. The once white coat was stained brown with dried blood.
Are you all right?
I'm not sure. We finally got the infirmary under control, and most, if not all, the patients have been seen. It's just been a long 2 days.
Yes, it has.
So you wanted to talk to me?
Yeah, I've had time to think about what you said at the trial, and you're right about everything. I'm sorry.
So you've said.
But I am sorry. I know words aren't enough, but I don't know what else to do.
Then give me an explanation.
An explanation of what?
Why didn't you just say no?
No.
When I asked you to go to the market, why didn't you just tell me you didn't want to instead of making me look like an idiot waiting around?
Because I wanted to go. I did, but things got out of hand and...
How do I know this isn't some excuse? A reason to trick me into believing you're this amazing guy who actually cares about me and my brother and not just manipulating us for your own gain.
I do care about you guys. You were the first people I met. You helped me adjust to life here, and I only asked Walter because I didn't know who else to turn to. I see now that that was wrong. I didn't know you guys were in a bad spot.
It's not just a spot, it's life.
Slumping into a chair, she mindlessly twirled a strand of hair around her finger as she stared blankly out over the city.
We've always had a rough life, especially after coming here.
Coming here?
Me and Walter are originally from a small island called Anaya. Our parents sent us here to the mainland to have a better life, but it's not always been better. Walter's made sure of that. We've had to fight for our right to be here, always seen as outsiders, dangerous even, never treated with respect until you showed up.
Breaking her gaze, her deep blue eyes fell on him.
And then I broke your trust.
Yep, and involved my brother in your scheme.
Yeah, though it didn't take much to convince him.
Oh, I know. When it comes to causing trouble, he is all too willing to help.
But that doesn't change that I messed up. I should have talked to you first, but you do understand why I did it, right?
Yes, I do. I just wish you would have gone about it differently.
If I don't get set off to Casman, I want to do it differently. I want to do it right, and I want to earn back your trust.
Her tired eyes gazed back out at the city.
I also owe you a date.
Yes, you do.
So will you give me a chance?
I don't know. Let's see where life takes us.
I can do that.
They sat in peaceful silence as the light drifted from the sky. The ash had long since settled, replaced by the first gentle flurries of snow. A month had dragged by when the professor had arrived at Eli's door.
We've been called to the Chancellor's office. It seems he's made a decision in regards to your sentence.
Eli's breath crystallized in the morning air as the soft snow crunched under his feet as he and the professor made their way to the grand hall. Brushing aside the chill of the outside air, Eli greeted the warmth and comfort of the indoors. Treading down the grand halls, the professor led him up and towards the Chancellor's office. Only a month before, Eli had raced through these halls, overlooking the smoldering harbor. Rounding the last bend, the familiar door greeted them, flanked by guards dressed in long, double-breasted black coats fringed with gold. Sharp knee-high boots matched perfectly with leather straps that held their rifles over their shoulders. The uniform was topped with a bearskin circular hat.
We are here to see the Lord Professor.
Pushing the door open, the room came into view. Light flooded around the tall, regal shape of Defoe as he stared out at the harbor. Turning about, a small smirk crept onto his face as he took in the two men before him.
I trust you both are recovering well.
Yes, we are doing quite well.
Good. Please take a seat. We have much to discuss.
Wobbling over, Jones sat in one of the high-backed armchairs stationed in front of the Chancellor's desk. Eli took the other, but Defoe did not sit.
What is it you wish to discuss with us?
Have you made a decision regarding my sentence? We have. But in light of recent events, the Council has decided to postpone your trial, Mr. McCain. That is in part on my request. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I postponed it because you said you were investigating the death of your parents. Did you not? I did, and I still intend to. I'm happy to hear that, because I believe you are right to suspect that your parents were murdered.
You do?
Yes. I knew your parents quite well, and worked with them for a time, and when I heard of their passing, something never felt right to me, mostly because I knew how much trouble they were in. Do you know who they were in trouble with? I'm inclined to suspect the Black Sand. though I don't believe they were known by that name at the time. Why would they be in trouble with them? Because of what they were looking for. The relic? Yes. And if my memory serves me right, I believe they were getting close to discovering the location of the whole relic.
So the sand swept in and killed them.
But your parents were no fools, and they guarded their work carefully, hiding whatever they had found with me. If you got the key from them, then yes.
Besides informing us of the Council's decision to postpone the trial, why did you call us here, Wilfred?
Yes, Jones. You were always straight to the point. I'm offering you a chance to finish your parents' work, and to clear your name. Now more than ever, I believe this nation needs the relic's grace.
You do know we could have avoided all this had any of you listened to Jason and Amy.
You're quite right. But that no longer matters. What matters now is this. Our nation is in trouble. These terrorists have increased their attacks, and I've been informed all other industries are failing.
I thought you said only the harvests are failing.
I did, but snowstorms have closed the mines for the next few months, and trade is down due to an increase in storms. We are in the early days of a collapse, and you believe that if we reunite the relic and bring it back, we could prevent the collapse?
I believe so.
It's unfortunate that it has to be this way, but we need you to finish your parents' work. Why me? Why not anyone else? Because you have the key, and from what I've seen of your notes, you made better progress in a month than anyone has in the last 10 years. But I don't have the key anymore. What if I gave it back to you?
Wilfred, what are you proposing?
A council-sanctioned expedition to locate and retrieve the missing pieces of the relic. Will I have access to the Cotton Journal? You'll have access to the journal and much more. And if you are successful in your mission, you and your friends will be pardoned of your crimes, as well as being rewarded handsomely.
This was everything he could have dreamed of. Unlimited resources, government funding, the Cotton Journal, a chance to complete his parents' work and protect the nation's legacy, just like they had asked. Outstretching his hand, Defoe offered him a chance at revenge, at justice, and peace for his parents.
So, what do you say? Do we have a deal?
Clasping their hands together, Eli sealed his fate.
We do.